Weird historical facts about every US state. In 1954, Anne Hodges was napping on her couch when something crashed through her roof and struck her, a meteorite, making her the first known human to be hit by an extraterrestrial object. Just months after their attack on Pearl Harbor, Japanese forces invaded Alaska's Aleutian Islands, a brutal campaign that marked the only ground combat on American soil during all of World War II. In 1930, Pluto was discovered by an astronomer in Flagstaff. Shortly after, the Disney character, originally called Rover, was renamed after the planet. All states establish laws in their name, but Arkansas is the only state with a law about its name. In 1881, the legislature legally declared the correct pronunciation Arkansas, not Arkansas. The internet was born in 1969 when UCLA researchers sent the first ARPANET message to Stanford. Intended to be login, the system crashed after the first two letters, inadvertently greeting the digital age with a friendly "Lo." In 1893, Catherine Lee Bates climbed Pikes Peak and wrote a poem about its breathtaking view. These lines would become the lyrics for America the Beautiful. In 1878, the world's first telephone directory was created in Connecticut. It included no numbers, was unalphabetized, and was printed on a single piece of cardboard. Delaware became the first state by ratifying the Constitution in 1787. In 2015, it became the last state to get a national park. In 1890, President Benjamin Harrison sent the Navy to capture the mayor of Cedar Key, who had been running the island city like a mad dictator, even forcing people at gunpoint to headbutt each other. After the 1946 gubernatorial election winner died before taking office, Georgia faced a political crisis as three different men claimed they were now governor. Chaos ensued for weeks until the state Supreme Court chose the winner. Hawaii's flag, designed by the first king of Hawaii, is the only state flag to feature another country's flag, the UK's Union Jack, honoring historical ties between Hawaii and the Royal Navy. In 1955, Arco, Idaho became the world's first city lit entirely by nuclear power. Unfortunately, it also later became the site of America's only fatal nuclear reactor incident. Chicago's Great Fire was a historic disaster, but it led to the development of fireproof building frames, paving the way for Chicago to make history by building the world's first skyscraper. America is no stranger to animal migrations, but in 1822, Indianapolis witnessed one of the strangest. Tens of thousands of squirrels rampaged across the burgeoning city, destroying entire crop fields and terrifying citizens. In 1839, a boundary dispute between Iowa and Missouri nearly led to war when Missouri tax agents cut down 3 beehives for honey as payment. This bizarre incident, known as the Honey War, was a testament to border disputes in the nation's early history. Argonia, Kansas elected the first woman mayor in United States history. That's especially remarkable considering it happened in 1887, decades before women were given the right to vote. Settlers founded the town of Middlesboro, Kentucky because of its unusually rich mineral deposits. Decades later, science explained why. The entire town was built inside of a gigantic meteor crater. Louisiana witnessed one of the most bizarre assassinations in American history when Huey Long, a powerful and controversial politician, was killed in 1935. Though the official story states he was killed by a political enemy's son, conspiracy theories, including that Long staged the shooting himself, persist to this day. During World War II, Maine experienced a rare Nazi invasion when 2 German spies arrived via U-boat in Hancock. A local Boy Scout spotted their footprints in the snow, leading to their capture. In the late 1800s, Maryland's Chesapeake Bay was the site of the Oyster Wars, violent conflicts over oyster harvesting rights, which led to the formation of the Maryland Oyster Police Force. Although it's often associated with the Midwest, basketball was actually invented at a YMCA training school in Springfield, Massachusetts. Dr. James Naismith developed the game in 1891 to give his students an indoor activity for the state's harsh winter months. In 1909, Detroit's Woodward Avenue made history by paving the world's first mile of concrete road, a fitting achievement for Motor City. After a tornado devastated Rochester in 1883, a physician and his sons joined forces with local nuns to care for the injured. The doctor's name was William Mayo, and the hospital they created together would become known as the Mayo Clinic. During a hunting trip in Mississippi, President Theodore Roosevelt refused to shoot a bear that had been tied up for him. This compassion inspired the invention of one of the world's most beloved toys, the first teddy bear. St. Louis hosted the chaotic 1904 Olympics, the first held on US soil, where athletes battled not just extreme conditions, but also notorious cheaters, such as a marathoner who infamously received help from a car. More than 2.5 billion free Gideon Bibles have been placed around the world. It all began in 1908 at the Superior Hotel in Montana, when two traveling salesmen left the first free Bible in a hotel room, starting a global tradition. On April 18, 1945, a Japanese balloon bomb exploded over Omaha, Nebraska. This so-called few-go bomb had been carried across the Pacific by the jet stream. On Halloween 1864, Nevada became the 36th state by telegraphing its entire constitution to Congress just days before the presidential election. It was the longest and most expensive telegraph transmission ever sent, but it was worth it. The state's electoral votes helped re-elect Abraham Lincoln. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving near Portsmouth when they saw a glowing object in the night sky. They later claimed this object kidnapped them, marking the first and one of the most famous cases of so-called alien abductions. Haddonfield, New Jersey is famous among horror fans for inspiring the name of Michael Myers' hometown, but during an October dig more than a century earlier, it was home to another startling creature, the first nearly complete dinosaur skeleton ever discovered. New Mexico is the only state with an official state question, red or green, referring to your choice of chili peppers in its cuisine. No wonder the turtles live in the Big Apple. America's first pizzeria, Lombardi's, opened in New York City in 1905, spawning the iconic New York-style pizza. In 1889, George Washington Vanderbilt II decided to build a summer house for what he called a little mountain escape. 6 years later, the Biltmore Estate was completed, and to this day, it remains the largest home in America. North Dakota claims it's the 39th state, but it might actually be the 40th. President Harrison signed the state documents for North and South Dakota on the same day, and refused to reveal which he signed first. It's impressive enough that Oberlin College was the first American college to admit black students. What makes it even more remarkable is that it happened 30 years before the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. If you've ever gotten a ticket for letting the meter run out, you might not feel okay about okay. Oklahoma invented and installed the world's first parking meter, named Park-O-Meter No. 1 in 1935. In 1970, to ease tensions among anti-Vietnam War protesters ahead of a scheduled visit from President Nixon, Oregon hosted Vortex One, the only state-sponsored rock festival in US history. The Liberty Bell is famously in Philadelphia, but for a while, it was secretly elsewhere. To protect it from British forces during the Revolutionary War, the bell was secretly transported to Allentown, where it was hidden for nearly a year under the floorboards of a church. The 19th century's New England vampire panic reached a chilling climax in Exeter, Rhode Island. After several townspeople died almost certainly of tuberculosis, locals instead blamed Mercy Brown, claiming the recently deceased woman had been a vampire. They exhumed her body, burned her heart, and used the ashes in a potion to save her ailing brother, who died of tuberculosis shortly after. South Carolina is called the Palmetto State, but it might not be for the reason you think. The name originates from the Revolutionary War, when a fort built with palmetto logs survived an onslaught because the spongy logs actually absorbed British cannonballs. The Crazy Horse Memorial, started in 1948, aimed to be the world's largest mountain carving. It's already the largest in America, even though it's unfinished, which is how it might stay, due to long-lasting controversies about what Crazy Horse himself might have wanted. The state that gave us Dollywood also supplied other beloved amusements. It was the birthplace of modern miniature golf, as well as cotton candy, which was invented, ironically, by a dentist. Speaking of amusements, Six Flags originated in Texas, and it's named for the 6 different national flags that have flown over its land. Mormon pioneers' crops were saved from a devastating cricket infestation in 1848 when flocks of seagulls appeared and consumed the insects. This so-called miracle of the gulls led Utah to make a surprising choice for official state bird, the California gull. If you've ever marveled over the uniqueness of snowflakes, you can thank Vermont. In 1885, a local teenage farmer there pioneered the photography of snowflakes, demonstrating that no two are alike. One George from Virginia gave us democracy, but another gave us daring. In 1804, George William Crump became the first recorded streaker in US history, running naked across a college campus. He was later elected to the United States Congress, although he did not become Streaker of the House. Washington is the only state named after a president, specifically the father of the nation, so it's fitting that in 1910, to honor her father, a Civil War veteran who raised 6 children alone, a Washington resident founded Father's Day. West Virginia has played a remarkably rich role in American history. During the Civil War, it became an independent state after refusing to secede with the rest of Virginia, and during the Cold War, its Greenbrier Resort secretly housed an underground bunker designed to protect Congress in case of a nuclear attack. In 1856, an immigrant mother in Watertown, Wisconsin started an educational program for her young daughter and neighborhood children. Inspired by educational principles from her native Germany, it was the first program of its kind in America and introduced a revolutionary concept with a name from her homeland, kindergarten. In 1899, Butch Cassidy and his Wild Bunch gang literally blew what could have been one of history's greatest robberies. The crew overtook a train near Wilcox, Wyoming, armed with dynamite to blast open the safe, but they used a little too much. Not just opening the safe, but destroying much of the money inside. Thank you so much for watching, and for more videos that feed your curiosity about our fascinating world, be sure to subscribe.